And what I want to say to my mom is to really show the respect and admiration and gratitude to her parents, my grandparents, who really brought the dignity to our, like that generation of actors and actresses in Spain brought a lot of dignity to our craft.
So what was the first attraction to you to acting when you were a kid?
Not the money, for sure. No, I don't know. My mother is an actress, and everybody in the family is actors, directors, producers, writers. I guess I remember my mother going on stage on a premiere of a theater, of a play, and she was playing a queen, Queen Elizabeth from Spain. But I don't know, minutes before that, I was with her on backstage, and she was like shaking, and she vomited out of nervous and fear. But 2 minutes after, she was on stage, and she was a queen. That metamorphosis, I was like 7, I think, 6, 7. I was like, how did she do that? What it has to be in somebody's mind to be able to overcome that fear, that physical fear that makes you vomit, and be in a place where you are like in control and also transparent, vulnerable, not in control like a stone, but otherwise in control from the pleasure of being there and giving, giving. I felt that was something amusing, and I guess that image has been with me in the moment where I said I want to try that. I mean, of course, I did like waiter, like every actor in the world. I've been a waiter, but I put the money in acting classes. I knew that the more I learn, the better for me in the future. And I never really put the focus on I want to get to somewhere in special. No, it's like I always put the focus on the work, and I knew and I know that if you really put the focus on the work will take you to a different, to the next step. You know, but if you are with the eyes in the wrong place, then you are not putting the eyes in the right place, which is the work. That's why I do what I do, because I have the need to express myself through a character. I'm not a painter, I'm not a musician, I need a character to express myself, and Uxbal is one of the best characters ever for any actor. I like characters that go through difficult situations, let's put it this way, because in there you see a person who really has to face himself, the worst and the best of himself. And are those characters the ones that I really pay more attention to when I go to a movie theater? I mean, I like also entertaining movies and comedies and all that, but there are certain roles where I think read a lot of things to the audience, like it reads a lot to a lot of people, and those are the ones that I look for, A dream that I have as an actor is to be able, when I'm old or when I'm dead, that all the characters that I played come to my funeral, and they will be in the same room, and they cannot talk to each other because they don't have anything in common. That will be a nice dream. Like
that's the goal.
Like you've done people that are really different from each other in a way that they sit down and they look at their faces and they go, what can I talk about with this guy? Like, for example, Perita Durango and Before Night Falls, I don't think they can talk to each other.
Not in the same universe.
But I do believe that it's important, the body language. I mean, our behavior, the way I'm sitting down now, the way I move my hands, the way you are sitting down, speaks a lot about us in a way that we are not aware of. And that's important to understand a character. Like, for example, in Uxbal, in Biutiful, there's a weight in that back. There's something, and there's also a chest that is going inward because he's not a man that is really expressive himself. And the whole journey is for a chest to come up and open, and the back to feel more relaxed because he has to give up. That says much more than some lines. And that's the work of the actor. That's what is not on the page. That's what you need an actor for, to put that in flesh and blood.
Language. So tell us, how do you prepare?
Prepare with my acting coach. I've been working with him since I started when I was 20. He's the same. He's Juan Carlos CORAZZA. He's from Argentina, lives in Spain. And he's a good friend of mine. He's a master.
I mean, I'm going to my acting teacher, my acting school since 20 years ago. Every year I go, at least 3 months.
And he really helps me to, I don't know, to box together. Because when you are, especially when you are preparing for a movie, mostly you are on your own. And you're at your office or your house, your bedroom, whatever, and you're thinking, imagining, and it's hard because you don't have the time to rehearse with the other actors. So I need someone to do the sparring with me.
Is there a backstory, a specific imagery that you use?
I don't get too crazy about it. Like the relationship between what you've read or what you've imagined, that helps me to understand and trigger the need of that character to say or do that or this thing, and create a pool of images and ideas and experiences that you can imagine that will trigger his actions.
So do you think that having that pain on your shoulder and going to that place was more attractive to you as a younger man when you were 20 and you were coming up?
Yes.
And you thought that's the way it is, that's what a great actor is?
Yes.
Of course, I've been 20 years old like everybody else. And when I was 20, I wanted to feel the pain. I wanted to feel the suffering. I wanted to be more method than Brando himself. And
yes, that's the danger. When you're 20, you think you're immortal, first of all, and nothing is going to be able to break you in pieces, or you think you're never going to die. That's why some 20-year-old people do crazy things. We all have done it. And yes, it's like the painful thing is the worth it. Pain is worth it. Well, no, pain is not worth it. Pain can be a tool to make something worth it, but pain itself is not worth it. That's a very Christian legacy, the glorification of pain, where through that you will engrace yourself to another level. No, that's a lie. You can, as an artist, work with pain and pleasure and joys and images and music and sounds and tastes. But that's only one tool. That's not the tool to do something good. It's impossible. That's what I learned after doing Biutiful. When you create, when you are a musician, a painter, or whatever, or an actor, of course you're going to touch difficult places of within yourself. But that pain has to be creative. In other words, there's no way you can create something out of pain and only pain. And especially for an actor, because otherwise you are blocking the character. You are putting so much of yourself that at the end is like a therapy. It's not an expression of art, of creation. It's like a therapy work. People don't need to see your therapy. People need to see the character's journey.
It didn't make me a better actor. I went through very, I don't know, intense, absolutely gratuity moments where I could have done even better without going through that process. And as a good friend of mine said, when you are so much into the character for 24 hours, you may do your best scenes in the catering service or when you're going to the bathroom and the camera is not rolling. So you want to be prepared when the camera is rolling.
And I think that's where you see the creativity of an actor, where you go, okay, I can feel he's going through something, but he's able to get out of that and go even farther, rather than being stuck in his own pain, which for me, I don't care. I don't care about the actor's pain. I care about the character's pain. So,
but I absolutely understand that other actors need to be immersed in that for the whole day. I find it very exhausted myself.
There's a great moment. I don't know if you know about this, but Jack Lemmon, the great Jack Lemmon, I got to work with a couple of times, and he would talk and tell jokes, and when he heard rolling, he would turn to his spot and go, magic time. And he was in character until cut. And then he'd go back and tell a joke, and then boom, that he'd say the words magic time, and that would be his mantra. And he'd be right in that character. And then there were other people who we worked with that I won't mention that were going, will you stay with me, please?
Yeah.
You know, didn't work. Do you have any desire to direct?
No, not at all. I mean, you know how hard it is. I mean, it's tough. I think I think the fun and the joy of working with actors would make sense to me, but the whole surroundings of what it means to put a movie together, I don't think I'm ready for that. It takes a lot of work and a lot of focus and a lot of strength and stubbornness to really be the captain of such a big boat full of so many people. The fact that I could share so many months with those two kids and get into the world of being a father that sacrificed himself for those two kids, a single father who has to take care of those two little human beings, really opened a flame within myself that I wasn't expecting about, wow, what is this unconditional love looks like? Because I guess my thing was, are you able and capable of really give yourself for someone else to a point where you would die for that person if needed? I wasn't ready for that. I was way more selfish than that. But I guess that movie helped me to open the door toward that feeling a little bit more. And then the relationship with my actual wife started to happen. And it came naturally that I really wanted to be a father. And I think a little bit of it has to do with that movie.
This distinction between positive and negative, I think, is too narrow. I mean, too simple to say what's positive or negative. I mean, we know what is wrong or right, good or bad. But I think this movie transcends that and goes to a mixed place where real life happens, which is people are not only good or bad. I mean, there are some son of a bitches out there doing a lot of harm to people, but most of the time we do wrong and we do right millions of times in one day. And at the end of the movie, what I think it is, more than a happy ending, is a place where you, as a viewer, feel like, I don't know, you feel empathy for the human being, for the human soul, for how that person that you saw and his struggle took him to a place where you feel redemption, empathy, compassion, and you know that what you feel towards him is what we have to feel toward ourselves and to the others. And that's a lot to feel for a movie, because I'm speaking about feeling, not thinking about it. This is not an intellectual journey, this movie. This is an emotional journey for the viewer.
It breaks you down. I mean,
it breaks you down, but also you want to go out of the movie theater and run and hug your people and remind them how much you love them and how important they are for yourself, for you, sorry. And that's something that is nice. I think we are so much in a rush that we don't do that.
Yeah. Do you watch yourself?
No.
Ever? Do you avoid it?
I used to. I've been 20 years old, as I told you before, and it was like, hey, that's me, man. But then there's a moment where I can't take it anymore. I'm always saying that the need of performing doesn't have anything to do with the need of watching the performance. I went through a process. Somebody was there with a big guy putting on me, and that's done. That doesn't mean that I wanted to do that way, that's what I dreamed, that is what I planned. And that happened right there in that moment, and somebody caught it. I don't want to see that. That's for the people to see and see if they feel something about it or not. I mean, every movie that I do, I see it at least one time because I want to make sure that I am there, especially with Terrence Malick. I don't really know what audiences will think of me as an actor rather than what audiences will feel with certain characters that I play. After screenings of Biutiful, I can tell people are moved by the performance also. But that doesn't mean that they feel that about me as an actor. Did I explain myself more or less?
Yeah.
And I guess if I have to say something that I think is that I think people know that I am a person who really tries hard to do it as good as he can. Like, I take seriously my job, which is good. But there are many, many great actors that also do that, so I'm not special. But at least I'm not a guy who just wants to be there for the wrong reasons. You did something that touched people's hearts in a certain way, and they want to congratulate you and support you and thank you for that, and they give this to you independently of what they think of you as an actor. That is a beautiful accident that happened out of a job, out of one performance, not as the actor we love, you know?
Right.
And I think it's very healthy to remind yourself that that is beautiful. You have to be grateful and honor. It's a great honor, of course. But that doesn't mean that you are better than anybody else. As much as if they don't give it to you, you are not worse than anybody else.
Right.
You are who you are, and you try hard to be as good as you can. The movie itself affects people, has a lot to say about how much they reward the performance in the movie. So at the end, you have to be really aware of all those things to not feel like insecure about why they didn't give you anything,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And be like, okay, thank you. I mean, and taking it as good as you take the winning, you have to take the losing, if there is a losing part. Because I don't think not being nominated is not losing anything.
Right.
It's like, well, of course, if you are and they give you an award and they
Right.
give you an Oscar, more people are going to see that movie. And because you are proud of what you've done,
Right.
which is not to say I'm proud of me as an actor, but I'm proud of that we did this together. I think it's meaningful to people. If you have that thing, more people is going to see it, and then
Right.
you feel like you are helping the movie in a way that it needs to be helped, which is come in and be welcome to it.
Stage. And what I want to say to my mom is to really show the respect and admiration and gratitude to her parents, my grandparents, who really brought the dignity to our, like that generation of actors and actresses in Spain brought a lot of dignity to our craft, because back in the day, they were considered, I don't know, horrible people. We're talking about the Franco regime, dictatorship, and there were people that were persecuted, pursued. And I wanted to say thank you, because of them, I can stay here today, because they taught you the respect and love for your craft, for our craft. And you, Mom, taught me to have respect for my craft and for the people that is part of it. You may not change the world, but you're helping them to be heard and listen. And in this case, like many other cases, what they say is that the first victim in any war is the truth, because then the propaganda starts to take place for one place and for the other, because we all need to have enemies to fight for. So, and as many other things in the world, it's a combined process of wrongs that create a horrible situation. My wife and I, we always talk about, which is, we try to remind them, they're little, they're 11 and 9, remind them that this is not the common path for any actor. Yeah. But if we are there, it's because we work hard, we prepare ourselves, but also we've been blessed with luck and with choices for great people. But we try to make them understand that you have to work, you have to be constant, you have to sacrifice, you have to be prepared, whether it's for acting or for being a doctor, for being a musician, for being whatever. And that's what we really intend them to understand. And I think we are achieving it. That being said, I don't think any of those two guys are lawyers, because they are all over the place. They are expressive. They really are in touch with their feelings and the expression of it.
They've got the genes. They've got the genes,
I guess.
Yes.
And it's important because people always see us walking the carpet, and they don't understand that we are very much the very high point of the iceberg.
Right.
And for me, it's always been kind of a law to remind as much as I can that we don't represent we represent a huge number of great artists and craft that mostly are having a hard time to find a job.
Yeah.
And that's something to remind people, because otherwise they get a little bit confused. And to have a place where you belong, where you are part of a family that knows you and you know them, and they understand your passion and your background and your history, is beautiful. So thank you for what you're doing.